This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. It is one of those things that once you master it, life starts changing. Things start moving forward. I'm talking about PQ, positive intelligence. What is that? We're going to look at that and so much more through the eyes of a certified mindful health and wellness coach. And she's also a PQ coach as well. She's Mindy Tueller, and she's back on the program. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. PQ, positive intelligence. I've heard the term before. Always kind of wondered exactly what it is. Then we have IQ. That's a different type of intelligence, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah. So the positive intelligence, how do we define that?
Well, I'm sure we could define it a number of ways, but for the purposes of the program, we look at it as mental fitness and recognize that our mind can be our best friend or it can be our worst enemy. And with positive intelligence, we look at how positive we are in the face of life's challenges and when things are going great. How do we do when we get those bumps in the road? Are we able to stay in a positive mindset? That's really what it's about.
So is this to be proactive, to learn this in case things present, and then how are you going to deal with them? Is that kind of where we're going?
Absolutely. And we always want to be proactive rather than reactive if we possibly can. And of course, life is going to throw those things at us. It's not if, it's when. And I think positive intelligence can also help us get to the root cause of some of our behaviors that aren't helping us, which can be very helpful.
I'm getting a memory now in connection with PQ. And I remember something about reps. Like when you go to the gym, you're doing repetitions. So, let's say you're lifting, 100 pounds, and you're doing, 5 reps of those. And then the next one, you might, increase the weight, and you might do, a little bit more, whatever it might be. Is this an exercise that we learn and then we continue to exercise, I guess, our minds?
Absolutely. That's 100% correct. The way it works in positive intelligence to strengthen the muscle of our mind is that we need to first get out of the chatter that is negative. And these PQ reps can help us do that because what they are is just a few seconds to a few minutes to really as long as you'd like. The more, the better. But it can be as few as a few seconds to get in our bodies, to use our physical senses so that we're not in our heads with that chatter that's not useful. And we're focusing on something in the present moment. So it can be our breath. It can be something tactile. We use our fingertips a lot in PQ. It can be visual, which means that you can do a PQ rep while you're talking to someone. You can be looking attentively and seeing details that you hadn't noticed before. You can do a PQ rep with your hearing. Listen to the farthest away sound. Listen for the closest sound. Sounds we weren't paying attention to before.
It actually sounds fun and exciting now that you're talking about that, because it's like it sounds like you can even challenge yourself. Let's say you got 5 minutes, you're sitting outside, which you should be doing anyway, taking some time, even during your day, whether it's to meditate or just go outside, get grounded. But even just like you're saying, just to focus, what's the furthest sound I can hear? It's almost like sharpening your senses, sharpening different skills.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things to do with clients is to take a few minutes and have them eat a strawberry using all their senses. That means we look at it, we really study it. We see all the nuances. We see the seeds. We see the stem. We see the texture. We touch it. We feel all those details. We smell it. We really note how it smells. And then we can maybe start tasting and we do it slowly. And we really try and note what it is that we're tasting. And I got to tell you, it's like the best strawberry you've ever had.
We aren't intentional when we eat. We just shovel it down and move on to the next thing. And I got what you're saying, I'll laser this down, but it was like, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago. I'm here at 8 o'clock at night. I got to get something to eat. Here comes a confession. I've never eaten alone, like at a restaurant. Never. That was the first time. So I'm like, all right, Applebee's down the street. Good enough. Let me get it done. And I was like, all right, let me go in there. Felt a little awkward, but there's other people sitting around the bar area, eating on their own. And so, I order, but I still remember how flavorful that meal was. Just that one beer and that what I was eating was just, wow, this is so good because I was focusing on it. I wasn't giving my attention to somebody else. Maybe that's sort of like a PQ rep because I was putting major focus on it.
You were doing a PQ rep. You were doing a bunch of them.
Wow.
And they're all around us. When we think about petting our cat or our dog, if we're doing it mindfully, if we're really feeling their fur under our fingertips, if we're feeling them purr or be contented, all of those things, we're very present at that moment. That's a PQ rep. We can find these everywhere.
Wow. So it almost seems like life changes in many ways once you start harnessing the power of the PQ.
It does. So I think there are three main components of positive intelligence. And the more you do it, the stronger your mental muscles. Therefore, when you start doing PQ reps, you might be able to lift the equivalent of a 5 pound mental dumbbell, rather. And as you go on and you do more and more, you'll be able to increase that and handle those much larger things that cause problems in your life. And so that first part is really seeing where you're getting hijacked, really becoming aware, getting out of autopilot, and being saying, I see that my judge is really acting up right now, or my saboteurs. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about the saboteurs. Then do some PQ reps, and they can be done anywhere, and they don't need to take long. Once you're grounded and centered, and now you're not in fight or flight or freeze, you're in rest and digest, you're calm, you're able to think more clearly, and then the good part happens. And we may end up talking about that a little bit more on another one of these calls, but that's where we get to harness who we truly are.
Saboteurs. Did we want to hit that today?
I'd love to.
Yeah. I'm wondering I have ideas where this might go, but I'm just kind of curious. Like what's considered an example of a saboteur?
Okay. Well, there are 10 saboteurs altogether. This is based on research that has been synthesized down. This helps us see really our root cause, the root cause of our negative behavior, the stuff that isn't helpful. And we all have some of each of these, but many of us have a lot of some of them. So the very biggest one that we all have that is probably most responsible for most of our negative emotions is our judge. And we can think of that as our ego. It's the ego both in, I might feel better than somebody else. I might assume that I have more, I'm superior. But the ego is also when we feel like crap about ourselves. When we're pulling ourselves down, that's our ego, that's our judge. And we do that a lot, all of us. It's also the judge of others. It's also when we say, wow, look at that person, there's something wrong with them. And it's also, and this is the sneaky one, it's also when we say, I can't be happy until. I need this to happen in my life to be happy. That elusive thing that once we get it, we're still not happy. We got to have something bigger, something different. So that's our judge. And when we start to recognize our judge, it's everywhere. It's all over the place. To live without a judge is pretty much impossible. So that's okay. We just need to recognize when it happens. The next saboteurs, there are 9, and I'll throw out a couple. See what you think. The first one in alphabetical order is the avoider.
Hmm.
I have a little bit of an avoider, and it pops up in certain times, for sure. Another one that may sound familiar in you or someone else that you know is the pleaser, the people pleaser.
This is everybody. We had a little piece of all of these, I really feel. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of that one.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the people pleaser. And there's so many different reasons for each one of these, although I'm going to imagine too, as I think about it, they kind of cross each other as well. You know, the
Yep.
reason like the people pleaser and the I don't know, procrastinator, the putter offer, that there's similar reasons for both of those. Could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they dance. They do a
Mm,
dance, and they always do it in conjunction with your judge. So the judge is the one that whips up your saboteurs. So there's an assessment, and it's actually really accurate. It's remarkably accurate, and it takes just a few minutes. And the most important thing is just to answer, what comes up, not think about it too much. But a couple of the others that will maybe resonate with listeners would be hyperachiever,
mm,
hypervigilant,
mm,
stickler.
mm. Perfectionist, would that be the same thing?
I think so,
Mm,
yes. And controller. Controller and stickler often go hand in hand. We see a lot of CEO types that would be controllers. We see, gosh, who else? It's not that they really fall into certain groupings or categories, but it is interesting to see sometimes how they bring out the other saboteurs in us as well, and they come in combinations, and they happen sometimes in certain circumstances. So, for instance, I used to be a controller and a pleaser, and so at work I was more of the controller, and at home I was more of the pleaser. But sometimes they would go together, and I'm sure it was very confusing to my family when I would be like, you must do it this way. It has to be done this way. And is there anything I can do to help you to do it this way? So they're getting all these, mixed messages with all of my saboteurs, and it affects all of our relationships.
What was for you, Mindy, that the big moment that came in when you finally learned about PQ reps and you're looking at your life and you finally had that realization, oh, I do that. Oh, I'm doing that. Was there one that really stood out?
Well, so what's interesting about the program is that it gives you an opportunity once you've identified your saboteurs to focus on one or another. And you can do this over and over again so that you put the focus on them. So I've had a couple of experiences where I was dumbfounded to see what was happening in my life because of my saboteurs. The first thing I did, the first saboteur I focused on was my pleaser. And I didn't realize to the degree that I was going out of my way to do things for others, I guess to have them like me. And what's so interesting is that when you bend over backwards for other people and you rarely do things for yourself, a couple things happen. First, people don't respect you as much if you never say no. You
Mm.
begin to be able to be a doormat. So the thing that you were longing for, their approval, to have them like you, to have them love you, that isn't as strong as it could be because of the doormat factor, who is she? What does she really want? And then that second part is that we often don't know what our own needs are when we're pleasers. And so you might think of, for instance, a mom who has kids, who she raises those kids, she helps to raise those kids, and then out the door they go. They're on to their own adult lives. And what does she have? She's been putting everything into their lives, and she doesn't know who she is and what her needs are at that point. So that one it was eye-opening, and I've learned so much about boundaries and how important they are.
Did you make the connection why that was you with the people pleaser?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, we know already what some of these behaviors are that aren't serving us, but maybe not putting it all together, because with the positive intelligence program, they really help you understand the characteristics of these saboteurs. And so for me, it came out of childhood, which most of our saboteurs do. They are helping us to survive mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically. And I did it because my home life wasn't ideal, and I was trying to be the one who fixed it for everyone.
It's amazing when you trace it all back how it goes back to your childhood. Would you agree?
It does.
Yeah.
When we're, little, we are in a big, scary world. Even with a loving family, even with a resource-rich environment, there are going to be things that we can't make sense of. So we find a story and we find a way to do our best to survive that. And so we want to thank these saboteurs in a lot of ways, because they have done a great job. Look, we're here. We've survived.
Mm.
Um, and now it's an opportunity to see the strengths that they were built on, and they come from strengths. So the pleaser is typically a very empathic person. They pick up on the feelings in the room from others, and that's a lovely quality until it's taken too far.
Mm. That's me. I know I've taken assessment tests, and empathy was the number two strength. Can be a curse as well, as we're talking about here. Uh, Communication was number one. No surprise, but the empathy thing got me because I'm usually the one that calls others out. Do you realize you're an empath? And it's me. Um,
Mm.
when we say that this stuff goes back to our childhood, overall, with the saboteurs, is the bottom line here? It's just to keep us safe. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we
Mm.
talked about this in our first call.
Yeah.
It really all distills down to feeling safe.
Yeah.
and and it's that visceral felt experience, right? It's not the numbers in the bank account. It's not the, whatever surrounding you looks like you're good to go. It's inside your body. Do I feel safe? And then from there, it's, do I feel accepted? Do I feel like I can be who I really am?
And the acceptance thing, there you go. People pleasing, you want to be accepted. That's and it probably holds true for some of the other saboteurs. We didn't get to. Can we do those as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll let me list them all, and maybe those
Sure.
listening will have one that speaks to them, or
Mm,
maybe a couple. So in alphabetical order, the avoider, the controller,
mm,
hyperachiever, hyper rational, hyper vigilant. Then there is pleaser, restless, stickler, and victim.
mm. Wow. Hyper rational. My jury's out on that. I haven't. The other one's pretty easy to figure out. What's that?
Well, interestingly, that is my number one. Hyperrational is my number one. So
Really?
pleaser was my number 2. Hyperrational is a very left-brained way of looking at the world. It is the logical, data-driven frame of the world. It 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 really removes you from feeling the emotion that might be going on in a situation. So it's kind of curious that I was a hyperrational and a pleaser, which meant I had both, but I would often not use the pleaser. I would use the hyperrational to make my decisions. What happens with people who are hyperrational is that we often come across as aloof,
Mm,
as intellectually arrogant, as superior, and it means that we can be very lonely.
mm. Yeah, I can see that because you're. I don't. Yeah, best description is you're kind of in your own world. You've processed things. You've looked at it, and from the data standpoint. And that's me too. I often say I pilot by facts. They don't lie. This is you can't change it. You can bend it to your anybody can do that, to play with the facts in their direction, but by and large, they are what they are. Um, you said that there's a number one and two and onward um, order of, I guess, level of saboteur within all of us. Is that when somebody works with you on PQ, is that identified?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the first things we do is have them take the assessment, and it just takes a few minutes. Once we've identified the errors, it's not something that we point to a lot, but it's a it's been going on in their life, and perhaps why patterns that they don't want to do any longer continue to happen. So again, when we see our judge, which is ever present with whatever saboteur it's pulling out, and then that saboteur, it might be our avoider. I'm putting that off. I'm putting that off. It might be our stickler. I need this room spotless before I can do anything else. Once we start to see those, everything can change because it's the autopilot patterns that really, really screw up our lives. And even more so, I think, Steve, it's the autopilot thoughts that go along with those.
And these are the thoughts you might not even know you're thinking them, but you get in such a call it the rabbit hole, or you're in that mode of thinking the same stuff over and over again because you've done it. It doesn't even it seems natural, but it can be very counterproductive unless you get a grip on it.
Mhm.
Wow.
My own kind of take on mental illness and things that are in that realm that people struggle with is that it can really all come back to those negative voices in our heads.
Mm. And is that the saboteurs? Well, they're all
That's the saboteurs.
essentially you could have 10, speaking all at once.
Yeah.
Even the people pleaser, you could have that saboteur yelling at you where you're saying, I'm not going to help them move tomorrow. I'm tired. I have other things going on. And saboteur says, you want to always keep them in your corner. You want to be liked by them. Just go there and help them with it, even though it's going to compromise maybe your self-care. Just go do it. You need to do it. We're so used to these voices, we don't even know they're there.
We don't.
Mm.
So you couple that with perhaps the controller, and you say, I'm tired. I've got other things to do, but you've got to go help them because you're always the one who rescues them. You're always the one that fixes it, and you do it so well. You do it the right way. Your way is the right way. That's the controller's message. My way or the highway.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now I see
Yeah.
it. So they
Uh-huh.
need me because I'm doing it right. So,
Yep.
you're the people pleaser, but you're the expert at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
no
it
judgment. It's
it
just it
can.
is what it is.
Uh, well, and so one of the things that we talk about in positive intelligence is when we're able to see that, we also then don't want to get into judge mode with ourselves. Oh my gosh, my pleaser's the worst. I hate that pleaser and that controller. How do I stop this? It's horrible, and then we get in a negative spiral along with those with the awareness, and that doesn't help either. It's about blameless discernment.
Mm.
It's about looking at ourselves blamelessly.
Looking at all of this, I'm seeing it in such a different light, how important it is to get a grip on these things because they're piloting us. You got people running you and you don't even know it. People being you in your mind, where life could be so much better. You could feel more authentic because let's be honest, you're a people pleaser. Are you really being you? Probably
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Probably not. If you could just short circuit the people pleaser saboteur within, you'd probably look at yourself and say, I'm not doing that. Why would I want to do that? But that's not what you're hearing.
Do you ever find someone who is not a people pleaser who can say no and say no in a way that it doesn't hurt feelings? It just is. They're just saying no.
Yeah.
And I look at those kind of people and I say, I have such respect for that.
Yes. Yes. When done the right way. When done the
Hmm.
right way. And, there's nothing wrong. Yeah, I can't make it. I can't make it on Monday. Don't say
Yep,
anything else.
that's right. That's right. That's really it.
It's really
Correct. You
it.
don't have to explain. That's really it. Yeah.
But it
And
takes
so,
courage.
yeah, it takes courage and it takes practice. And the
Mm,
more PQ reps you do, the easier these things come, because they put us in a place where we can utilize all of these inherent and innate powers that we have.
yep.
We are we are so much more powerful and magnificent than we know.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing all of this today. And this is just a piece of what you offer. Somebody, we were going to talk about the 5 pillars of a good life. We didn't get to that.
No.
I didn't know. I didn't know there were 9. It's 9 or 10 saboteurs.
Oh, well, 10 with the judge.
10 with the judge. Gotcha.
Right, yeah.
Had no idea there was that many, but I'm glad we went through it. How do we find you, Mindy? If somebody wants to, kind of peel the layers back, learn a little bit more about their mind and what's going on and how they can move their life forward better, how do we do that?
I would love to hear from anyone who even would just like to take the saboteur assessment, and they can reach me at my telephone number is 801-673-1700. Text is great. And then I'm at consciouslife.coach. And I have an email on there too, Mindy at consciouslife.coach.
So interesting and so everything in terms of what we do and why we do what we do. Great talking with you today. Really appreciate it. And looking forward next time we get together.
Yeah, me too.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.